once again to speak directly to the people and leaders of Iran. Ruz Dubai. Iran's highest officials, including Supreme Leader Khamenei, have said that Iran is not developing nuclear weapons.
Do you think Tehran can be trusted?
Certainly not. The mullahs are masters of deception and duplicity. You know full well that Rouhani himself acknowledged during the election campaign that he had deceived the West in order to continue the nuclear activities inside Iran.
ما متوقف کردیم، ما کامل کردیم فناوری رو. روزی که من پرونده رو ترک می‌کردم 1700 خورده سانتریفیوژ آماده ما داشتیم. روزی که من پرونده رو تحویل گرفتم 150 تا داشتیم.
They are not to be trusted.
Iran not only defies inspectors, it also plays a pretty good game of hide and cheat with them.
The information indicates that Iran has carried out activities relevant to the development of nuclear explosive device. As the head of this organization, what else can I do? Can I sit on this information? That's why I said it is my duty to alert the world.
If Iran seizes this moment, this Nowruz could mark not just the beginning of a new year, but a new chapter in the history of Iran and its role in the world, including a better relationship with the United States and the American people, rooted in mutual interest and mutual respect.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I miss the voice of reason, Mayor Ed Koch, but we still have a great voice of reason in one of the greatest criminal defense attorneys known. Please welcome Alan Dershowitz.
Thank you very much. I am thrilled to be here at this bipartisan opposition to a very, very bad deal. And the opposition must be bipartisan. This is not a bad deal only for Republicans and conservatives. It is a bad deal for Democrats. It is a bad deal for liberals. I am here opposing this deal as a liberal Democrat, and I urge my fellow Democrats and my fellow liberals to stand shoulder to shoulder with all of us who oppose this deal as bad for America, bad for world peace, bad for the security of the Middle East. We must always make sure that the security of Israel never depends on the outcome of an American election. Israel must always be a bipartisan issue. Its support and its defense must join Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives. Those of you who are Republicans, work hard to assure Republican support. Those of us who are Democrats have an even harder job to assure support from within our party and among our constituents and friends. This here today is a great display of democracy in action. This is the way democracy should work. I contrast that with the way the bill is being processed today in Congress. That is the worst example of democracy being distorted, democracy being abused, democracy being ignored. After all, look at the situation the President of the United States has placed us in. He has presented us with a bad deal, and he says it will be even worse if it's rejected by Congress. Assume for the moment he's right about that. Imagine the choice to which he has put us, between bad and worse. That is not the way democracy should operate. This deal is essentially a treaty. It binds the United States in a multinational way. This treaty should be submitted to the Senate for 2/3 approval, but the President won't do that because he knows it would be defeated. If it's not a treaty, it should at least be an executive legislative agreement, which is another constitutionally permissible method. In that case, it would require a majority of the House and the Senate. But no, the president has taken this case out of the democratic process and has said this deal will go through unless 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House disapprove it. That's not the way democracy should work. Democracy should be by majority rule, and the majority of the Senate and the House, both of which were elected more recently than the President of the United States, and both of which reflect the current mandate of our country, are opposed to this deal. Now, even Tom Friedman of the New York Times, who generally does not support Israel's policies and the policies of Benjamin Netanyahu, acknowledged in today's Times that it was the decision to take the military option off the table and to allow Iran to negotiate with us as equals that brought about this very bad deal. Now, we've heard all kinds of cries of this is Munich and this is Chamberlain. Let me tell you, this is not Munich. The reason this is not Munich is when Munich decided that Czechoslovakia would be dismembered, Czechoslovakia did not have the ability to defend itself. And when the President of the United States tells Israel that it may be subject to the nuclear whims of Iran, the state of Israel does have the ability to defend himself. And I have to tell you, I have known Benjamin Netanyahu since 1973. We met at Israel's 25th anniversary, and Benjamin Netanyahu will not permit Iran to develop nuclear weapons that threaten the very existence of Israel. And the United States should not and will not prevent Israel from taking whatever actions it may have to take to defend its citizens. When I sat in the Oval Office with the President of the United States, I asked him the question directly: would you, Mr. President, ever outsource the defense of your people to another country? He said no. I said, do you expect Israel to outsource its defense to another country? And he said no. Israel has the ability to defend itself. Iran must never, ever be allowed to develop a nuclear arsenal, whatever it takes. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Professor Dershowitz. Thank you. I would just like to recognize Ed Cox, the chairman of the New York State Republican Party, Betty Ehrenberg, representing the World Jewish Congress, Jeff Levine, representing the Jewish National Fund, Malcolm Hoenlein, the executive vice president of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations. And now I'm pleased to introduce another great Democrat, James Woolsey, a great American who served our country for so many years, is now the chairman of the board for the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, former CIA director. He was ambassador to the negotiation on conventional arms forces in Europe. Many, many great positions. A great American, so qualified to speak on the demerits of this terrible agreement. Please welcome James R. Woolsey.
Thank you very much. I was really honored to be asked to be with you today. But to tell you the truth, since I spent 22 years as a Washington lawyer and then some time out at the CIA, I'm actually honored to be invited to any polite company for any purpose at all. This agreement would be a reasonable one if it were with Denmark. But it is not. It is an agreement that our president has chosen to sign with a country that is governed by theocratic, totalitarian totalitarian, genocidal imperialists. Now, that's not just a string of expletives. It's an accurate description of the Revolutionary Guard and the leaders and governors of Iran. Theocratic. There should be no question about that. For over a third of a century, it has been ruled by Khamenei and others who believe very strongly in the union of religion and state and interpret their mandate as one in which they are doing God's will, and if in doing that they die and we die, they will go to heaven and we go to hell. That is their fundamental belief. Totalitarian. You need only look back at 2009 when the opponents of the whole structure, Ahmadinejad and the others with him, was essentially, clearly voted out of office by the Iranian people. They took to the streets, especially the young people, peacefully demonstrating by the hundreds of thousands, and they were massacred, raped, imprisoned, killed, and that terrible series of events broke essentially the internal organization of the opposition to the mullahs. Would that it were not so. And we should support those wonderful Iranian people and youth and those who love freedom in Iran, but it is a much harder job since our president decided to stand aside silently in 2009 when they were being killed in the streets. Theocratic, totalitarian, genocidal. How is this regime not genocidal? It lives and breathes on the chant of death to America and death to Israel. It is as fanatic in its anti-Semitism and its hatred of the West as a regime could possibly get. Theocratic, totalitarian, genocidal imperialists. How is Iran imperial? Well, look at their major part of their control of Iraq. Look at their control essentially of Syria. Look at their control of Yemen through the Houthis. They have control, if you count Hezbollah, they have control essentially of 4 other countries, and their appetite is not yet sated. Now, if we had an agreement to check nuclear weapons with a reasonable country, even an authoritarian, somewhat reasonable country, that would be one thing. But there is not the slightest chance that this slipshod and full of holes and full of concessions agreement is going to constrain at all this theocratic, totalitarian, genocidal imperial power. I would say that at this point, we have no real ability to affect their link to theocracy. We have no real ability to steer them away from totalitarianism, although their youth tried in 2009 and we did not help. We have not a really good way to steer them away from their passionate support for genocide, but we can do something about their empire. And in their part of the world, Losing a war and beginning to look weak changes everything. Now, I am not suggesting we send a lot of American boots on the ground, but we need to do in Syria and Lebanon and Iraq, we need to help the Kurds and others who are with us. We need to help them do to Iran what Iran's government deserves, which is to be crushed. We can go a long way to this with air traffic controllers, people in their units, help much more complete, even though it's not armies, help much more complete than what this administration has been willing to do. I wish I could think of something else to tell you, but I'm afraid this is a situation in which we have to choose as a nation between at least some degree of the use of force on the one hand and surrender on the other. We are in a track of surrender, given what this administration has done. To get out of it and to save ourselves and our friends and allies in the Middle East, especially Israel, to deal with it short of nuclear weapons being used, we have to be many, many times more forceful and decisive than this administration has been. Will it be surrender, continued surrender, or will it be opposition and blows against tyranny? Let us not vote for surrender and tyranny. Thank you.
Please pay attention to the video.
I'm Chazak. In 2005, I was blown up by an IED in Iraq. I'm going to give you 4 reasons why we shouldn't trust Iran to honor any agreement. Iran has been our enemy for 36 years. Iran is the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. Iran has cheated on every nuclear agreement they have signed. Iran has applied bomb-making materials that have killed more than 1,000 Americans in Iraq. I wouldn't trust Iran to honor any deal, even if they pay peacefully.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to know that Secretary of State John Kerry, now listen carefully, he has called the American Jewish Committee. I want you to have the address, 165 East 56th Street. The Secretary of State will be visiting the American Jewish Committee, and he's trying to divide and conquer organizations to try to get them to support this awful, horrid deal. Now, maybe in World War II, there were some people who divided and conquered and didn't allow the White House to listen to the importunings of some. We put on notice our leadership, secular, religious, and otherwise. If you back this deal, you will pay the price. You will pay the price. So remember, for those of you who are interested, keep an eye out and make sure that the American Jewish Committee maintains an even keel, as it has under David Harris, and maintains an appropriate viewpoint, and does not give in to John Kerry, not the AJC, nor anyone else. Now, this event, and we have a number of speakers, and we want you to hear all of them, and we hope all of them will be as compact as possible because their messages are powerful. But it's just a very few people who put this rally together. I can't name all of them, But I'll name as many as I can. But meanwhile, two heroic women that have done so much for this event in so many ways that you cannot imagine. Let us hear briefly from Lori Regan and Sari Singer.
For everyone coming out today. This is amazing, it's tremendous, and it's a very emotional moment for all of us. But in particular, I think what Sari and I are going to talk about is going to be as well very emotional. Because 36 years ago, 52 Americans were taken hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They were held captive for 444 days. Today, Iran holds 4 U.S. citizens hostage, one of whom has been missing for 8 years. So what does Wendy Sherman, the chief negotiator of the Iranian nuclear deal, have to say about this? Perhaps out of fear of being compared to Jimmy Carter's Iranian hostage crisis, Sherman chose to engage in her own rhetorical flourish, claiming that these men are instead merely detainees, as if that makes it any better. But if we have Barack Obama, who has clearly surpassed Jimmy Carter when it comes to capitulating to Iran, at least Carter tried to bring the hostages back. Would that Obama was leaving office tomorrow with the next Ronald Reagan, scaring the mullahs into releasing these men. Instead, we have Obama feigning concern as he demands their immediate release, immediately after caving into the Iranians. But while Obama argues that Iran releasing the 4 Americans should not have been part of his great nuclear-only achievement, there were certain releases on our side that he determined were necessary, including releasing $150 billion to use to spread terror across the globe, and agreeing to release nuclear scientists, including IRGC General Qassem Soleimani, a terrorist directly responsible for killing Americans. The current Iranian hostages, American citizens, human beings, are being beaten and tortured inside Iran's brutal Evin prison. And the best Obama can do while giving the green light for Iran to go nuclear is to bully a reporter. Well, we have a message for you, Mr. President. Americans are not just discontent, we are outraged. We are outraged that when you finally took to the airwaves yesterday to proclaim that you will work hard to get these men released, you couldn't even pronounce their names properly. We are outraged that these 4 American citizens and their families continue to live in a nightmare. As Christian Levinson, the wife of Robert Levinson, said, a nightmare that must end. You, Mr. President, have become our national nightmare. We are here to tell you that the American people have woken up. Today, we will not just mention their names. We will take a moment to recognize these brave individuals, proud Americans, and send our thoughts and prayers to them and their families for their safe and speedy return. Jason Rezian is an American-Iranian Washington Post reporter who was arrested in Tehran 1 year ago. Jason's brother recently told a reporter he knows that he is innocent. He knows that he's been there longer than any American journalist ever, and there's no justification for it. Saeed Abedini is an American-Iranian Christian pastor who was convicted in 2013 and sentenced to 8 years in prison. His wife recently stated, I appreciate that they're being discussed on the sidelines, but they're still not home. Where's the action? Where's the result? Amir Hamadi is an American, a former Marine who has been in prison and tortured since 2011. Although he is the first American to receive the death penalty in Iran in more than 33 years, this was ultimately reduced to 10 years, but he is not in good health. Finally, Robert Levinson, a retired FBI agent, disappeared in March of 2007 while in Iran working for the CIA. Unlike Obama's Herculean efforts to get deserter Bo Bergdahl released, American patriot Levinson remains missing. It is mind-boggling how President Obama negotiated a deal with a terrorist regime that had been brought to its knees and was in a weak position from the get-go, yet chose to ignore these 4 individuals and their dire predicaments. To Jason Rezian, Saeed Abedini, Amir Hamadi, Robert Levinson, and their families, our thoughts and prayers are with you. God bless you all.
Preparation for the rally, I have not prepared what I was going to say to you. So what I'm going to say is really going to be from the heart. I'm not a military expert. I'm not a politician, although my father is a New Jersey state senator. But I am somebody that has experience with everything that we're dealing with right now. 12 years ago, I survived a terrorist attack that was funded by Iran, where everybody seated around me and standing did not survive. This is something very personal. There are thousands and thousands of us all around the world that have been directly impacted by terrorism that was funded by Iran, and this deal will continue to fund that global terrorism. All of you here today, you are standing here as a voice for all of us that are victims of terrorism around the world. You are standing with us strong and sending a message that you want to be there for us and stand with us so that nobody else should go through what we've been through. A terrorist attack happens in an instant, but the impact lasts a lifetime. And I can tell you from personal experience that the impact is long-term and it's ongoing. I'm the founder and director of an organization called Strength to Strength, where we work to bring victims of terrorism together all over the world, showing that terrorism is not one country's problem, but it's a world problem. And we all must come together to combat the hate in the world, the terrorism that inflicts all of us. All of you here are standing strong together with the thousands of us, and the thousands more who are family members, who live with that impact of what they've been through. In memory of all these innocent individuals who have lost their lives, I would like us to have a moment of silence. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for standing with us and letting us know that you care. Thank you.
I want to introduce you to my buddy Richie Allen. Richard Allen, the president of American Corporate Benefits. This is the master of social media, the master of organizing, and I have no more voice. So let's recite together. Where is Chuck? Kill this deal. Where is Chuck? Kill this deal.
Where is Chuck? Kill this deal. Listen. Where is Chuck? Kill this deal. Where is Chuck? Kill this deal. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the largest rally in Times Square ever. We are 6 blocks long, and we've heard a bunch of speeches today which are terrific, but I want to hear your voices. Kill this deal. Kill this deal. Kill this deal. Let me hear you. They're going to hear us. They're going to hear us. Chuck Schumer is going to hear us. Jerry Nadler is going to hear us. Every one of these representatives that we have that are playing a game, saying they're studying it, go to our website, StopIranRally.org. You will find the agreement. Any simple person can read it. It's not technical. It allows everything. It gives everything away. Do you know that that agreement makes America a guarantor of the security of Iranian nuclear facilities? Can you imagine? Can you imagine that it says that America will help Iran secure all of their nuclear facilities against cyber attack? Can you believe that? Exactly. I want everyone to call your congressperson, call your senators. Don't stop today. Tomorrow, get on the phone every day and let them know they have to kill this deal. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce today Kevin McCullough, who's a radio personality on 1,200 radio stations across America. Late last week, Kevin McCullough on his show, a national show, spent an hour telling his listeners to get here in Times Square today. By bus, by plane, if you have to walk, get here. Well, many of you have come. I want you to give a big hand to Kevin McCullough.
Hello, Times Square! Kill this deal! Kill this deal! We know that We know that Iran has been the driving force of most of the current violence against Israel through their surrogates in Hamas, through the border war in Gaza, through the activities in Syria. We know that Iran is bad, bad news. We also know they're willing to work with the worst creatures on earth: North Korea, Russia, China, and Syria. We also know that Iran has never kept their word in the modern era on any given agreement. We know that they've never stopped working on their nuclear goals, even while we negotiated this phony, terrible, horrible, no good deal. Now, what about the U.S.? We know a couple of things about ourselves. Friends, we know that the United States of America is at a crossroads of history. We know that we're about to secure our children's future. But here's the question. Here's the question, Times Square. What kind of future will that be? We have the technology and the means to say to the rest of the world, we will or will not work with you. We have the ability to guarantee greater peace and safety and security. But have we lost our will to do that? Or at least our leaders in Washington, have they lost their will? It appears we may have. Our leaders have been feckless when the world looked to them for abject strength. So tonight, my friends, I want to ask you to do something tonight. I came to Times Square with this really odd-looking baseball cap. It's not very fancy. It stands for my 5-year-old's kickball team. My 5-year-old who plays on a kickball team with other children who are Jewish and Asian and Hindu and Latino and black. And yes, there's a couple of white kids on the team as well. These kids play on Sunday afternoons innocently, not aware of the dangers of the world around them. But this cap, as awkward and geeky as it looks, is my reminder when I ride the subway every day, when I ride the train to and from Lower Manhattan to do my broadcast at the radio station. It's my reminder when I look in a mirror or see my reflection in a window that I do not live my life for only my goals and my peace and my security in the future. My 5-year-old son deserves to grow up in a world free of a nuclear Iran. I have a simple question. Do President Obama's children bleed or die any differently than Israeli kids? Do my children die any differently than the worst liberal in Congress that I've ever disagreed with? Can we not at least say that there are times when partisanship should be put to the side, that the decision to do what is right is done because it is what is right? And what is right is to kill this deal! Kill this deal! Kill this deal! God bless you. God bless Israel. God bless the United States of America.
Iran's supreme leader says his country's newly brokered nuclear deal will not change Iran's stance toward the U.S. During a speech marking the end of Ramadan, Ayatollah Khamenei said the nuclear deal must go through a legal process before being approved, and he asked that Iranian officials put national interests first. The supreme leader declared that Iran will continue to support Syria and its other allies, whether the deal is approved or not.
Our policies will not change vis-a-vis the arrogant government of the United States at all. Death to America, death to Great Britain, death to Israel, death to the hypocrites. The hypocrites meaning the MEK, and finally death to Israel. As we have repeated multiple times, with the United States, we have no talks vis-a-vis regional issues.
Khamenei's remarks were greeted by chants of death to America. As Iran's supreme leader, he has the final word on all policy matters, foreign and domestic, including that nuclear deal.
Where is Chuck? Stop this deal. Where is Chuck? Kill this deal. Kill this Where is Chuck? Remember, Chuck Schumer is always there. We're not going to believe you, Chuck, if you give a good speech on the Senate floor and vote against the deal, but you don't lobby the entire Senate with all the strength you have, and God knows you're persistent. Nobody would want to stand between Senator Schumer and a TV camera. If he wants to stop this deal, we know damned well that he can do it. We know Chuck can stop this deal. We know Steve Israel and Nita Lowy and Gerald Nadler and Kathleen Rice and all the rest of them, if they say to their colleagues, this is our civil rights issue. We want our children to live. And that's what you have to do if they don't stop the deal. Throw them all out. Throw them out. The way Ed Koch punished President Obama in Queens County just a few years ago. Ed Koch knew how to do it. And we better remember the lessons of Mayor Ed Koch. And now I'm pleased to introduce one of the greatest people in Jewish journalism, author of so many books and other publications, the brilliant, the beloved Caroline Glick.
You don't have to look in the details of this agreement to see the devil in this agreement. The devil in this agreement is in the big picture. And there are only two things Senator Schumer has to know about this agreement in order to understand what he must do. One, this deal gives the mullahs $150 billion as a signing bonus. $150 billion. As my grandmother in Brooklyn would have said, that's real money. That's real money that you're putting into the hands of murderers. That you're putting into the hands of people who call every single day death to America and stomp on the flag of the United States. That's $150 million that goes to missiles and rockets and anti-tank weapons and suicide vests and yes, to centrifuges and uranium mined from South America. The other thing you have to know about this deal is that it gives Iran a guaranteed nuclear bomb within 10 years. If Iran doesn't cheat and abides by this agreement in 10 years' time, it can build nuclear weapons at will, and we're not even talking about the prospect of cheating. There are only and nuclear bombs in the hands of terrorists who want to destroy this country and kill every single Jew on the face of the planet. So Senator Schumer, Representative Nadler, Representative Engel, what don't you understand? What do you need to study? What is not clear here? Is there a question now of what you must do if you wish to raise your hand in public and say, I am a man of honor? No question. No details. Look at the big picture. And you know what to do, unless you have no honor and no shame. Now, what are we doing here today? We're here to tell them, if you have an ounce of shame, if you have an ounce of decency, you will not only vote against this deal, you will talk to all of your friends in the Democratic Party, every single member of the Democratic Congressional Caucus, and you will tell them to vote against it. You will explain to them that you cannot be moral and support this deal. You will tell them that you cannot have honor and support this deal. You will tell them that you cannot claim to care about the security of the United States of America and support this deal, and that you cannot claim to be pro-Israel and support this deal. We are gathered here today for another reason. We're told by President Barack Obama that everybody supports this deal. Everybody supports this deal except for Israel. Well, let's tell him something else. Not only do the Israelis not support this deal, and I can tell you for sure the Israelis do not support this deal, but the citizens of the United States of America oppose this deal. You can trample on the U.S. Constitution and try to make an end run around Congress, but you cannot make an end run around the American people. We in Israel know that. When we believe that America has our back, we're not talking about the Oval Office. We know the American people. We know what you are, an ironclad ally of Israel. It's because you do not get tread upon. It's because the United States does not support funding terrorism to the tune of $150 billion as a starting fee. The United States of America fights and defeats terrorism. America stands for that. It stands for freedom. It stands opposed to people who commit genocide. It stands opposed to people who incite genocide, who incite for their children to take up arms or explode themselves in order to kill our children. That's what it means to be American, and you know that, and that's why you're here. You're here to empower the elected officials of this great country to tell them, we have your back. You do the right thing. You do right by America. We'll do right by you. To stand with the U.S. military and the 4,500 GIs who gave their lives in Iraq, and not transfer that country to the control of the Iranians who killed them. You stand with people of honor because America is a country of honor. You stand here
see the mic. Now I see it.
It's possible to stop the damage, to mitigate the damage, to empower the next president of the United States to kill this deal. To correct the damage that's already been done. You stand here today, we all stand here today, to empower the great men and women in the United States Congress and the United States Senate, Republicans and Democrats alike, who understand that not only are the lives of the people of Israel on the line, the lives of the people of the United States of America are on the line. If the single greatest state sponsor of terrorism is allowed to get nuclear weapons, every single one in the United States of America, every single life is in danger, because the Iranians are serious when they say death to America. They're serious. They've been waging war against the United States since 1979. The fact that America has been ignoring it doesn't mean that it hasn't been here. You stand here to oppose this deal because you support the national security of the United States of America. My friends, in Israel we are concerned. We are distressed by the content of this deal, but we know what the outcome of it will be. We know that regardless of the designs of the murderers in Tehran, they will not be successful. But we also know, in the way that every good American mother tells their children as they raise them, God helps those who help themselves. And we're here to make sure. We're here to fulfill our responsibility as free men and women, and to stand up and ensure the security and continuity and strength and morality of the United States of America, just as the Israeli people and every Israeli mother and father stands up to the plate every single day to defy those who want to destroy our country and our people. We are here because we want to show that it isn't just words when we say that the great alliance between the American and Israeli people is the greatest and strongest alliance that the United States has ever known. These words have meaning. And we expect for the lawmakers in the U.S. Congress to give meaning to these words when we say we understand that we share common enemies as well as common values. And we will stand up for our values against our common enemies by doing what? By killing this deal. So I leave you the way that I came in, with the call to action. Tell your lawmakers, tell your friends, tell the President of the United States to kill this deal. Kill it. To preserve liberty, to preserve freedom. This deal must end. It must be killed. Thank you. God bless America. I'm Islam Chai.
Do you trust Tehran?
Absolutely not. I have said time and again, the mullahs are masters of deception. Everything that the world knows about their nuclear program has been exposed.
That was Maryam Rajavi, the leader of the largest Iranian opposition group, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, warning against this very deal when I talked to her just a few weeks ago. You know, she and the Iranian opposition have long predicted that a nuclear agreement like the one that was struck would not stick, because they charge the promises of Tehran cannot be relied on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you to welcome a great New Yorker, the president of the London Center for Policy Research, the founder of the Gallatin School at New York University. Please welcome Herb London.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be with you this evening. You are in the battle of your lives. I'm reminded of a story involving a preacher in the South who was giving a lecture or a sermon about the end of days. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of days there'll be crying and weeping and the gnashing of teeth. An old man sitting in the church that day said, Mr. Preacher, I don't have any teeth. He looked at him and he said, at the end of days, teeth will be provided. You are being provided with teeth this evening. We have a challenge. The challenge is to bite the neck of this deal, to kill it. We have that responsibility. President Rouhani said he had 3 goals in this deal. Number 1, to lift the sanctions. Number 2, to continue the enrichment of uranium. And number 3, to get the record, the historical record, wiped off the Security Council. President Obama gave him all 3 goals. We have a responsibility today. The president has been Orwellian. He has lied to us. We have heard in 2012 there will not be an Iran with nuclear weapons. Yet we find ourselves in a position where Iran will have nuclear weapons. It is our responsibility as citizens of this great country to say no to the president, to say no to Iran, to say no to nuclear weapons, to say no to those who want this deal. That is our goal. Say no. It is a very powerful word, and it's a word that should be heard through the corridors of the Congress. Thank you very much.